The story God's Infinite Problem begins here with infinity. Enjoy. The problem is in saying that God was always there and didn't need a creator. The argument is that the universe was always there, which means a creator is not needed. This is possible if you are capable of following the Big Crunch theory. Of course, people will state that the universe couldn't have always been there, and we can say the same thing about God's characters. I can ask, who created God? Who created God's creator? And this may go on towards infinity. Thing is, if God, a conscious being, is the creator of the universe, then that means that the universe at one point was non-existent, whilst God himself remains existent. So thus, a timeline is required for the universe to be created from God's point of view. The creation thus required some forethought, and a thought must happen in a time frame, even at the speed of light. A thought cannot happen backwards, because if so, the universe existed before the thought, and thus always existed, which is the opposite of what the religious spew at us daily. Problem is the time frame in God's point of view. He must exist in his own frame of time because he must have conscious thoughts. Proof of this is the Bible itself stating he is a jealous God and a merciful God. These require a thought. Being jealous is a state of mind, and being which requires a timeline. Without the timeline, God is always all of these things all the time, which is impossible because it has no meaning. A human being can be mad at his friend but happy over a test score, but these feelings are only recognized when a thought is passed of them, nor are these thoughts infinite. One must ask, how long in God's point of view did he wait to create the universe? Sure, it's supposed to have been created in 6 days, but how many of them days in his infinite existence were spent existing in complete nothingness, all alone? Surely that would drive anyone mad. All you have is the noise of your own thoughts. So, if God waited before creating the universe we know, what would he be doing beforehand? Contemplating the creation of the universe? But any time spent contemplating for an infinitely powerful being would suggest anything but omniscience. This brings us the question of why God would take the time of 6 days to create everything. Or the question, is this universe the first one he bothered to create? Were the others failures? If so, that reduces the uniqueness of our existence and implies he is imperfect due to a failure. If God knows everything, sees everything, can do anything, and is everywhere at all times, then he is sure to know of all our fates eons before they occur in our point of view. Thus, that would imply we have no free will, because if not, all that this universe is a large movie file playing out on God's Blu-ray. If God intervenes in our lives and gives us more options or suggests something, then that crashes our free will along probability lines. If we have 4 options, probability is 25%. God intervening lowers the probability by a minimum of 5% on the first try. Not to mention the fact that God already should know our choice before it happens, and thus shouldn't bother being disappointed in us and our decision. If he chooses to be disappointed at the moment of the decision being made by you, then that implies he isn't omniscient and is lying to himself. This is because he would know ahead of time of your decision, thus defeating the purpose of making the choice to have that emotion. Once again, this suggests he is in his own time frame. This brings up another question I consider necessary to ask. Why did God reveal himself to us over 2,000 years ago, in a time where understanding and knowledge was akin to thinking the earth was the center of everything, along with being flat? You'd think God would endow the people with such simple knowledge, amongst the other things like the existence of a place called heaven. God should have realized that his plan would fail before he carried it out, not to mention the supposed superpowers that humans had in these times, parting of the sea, and the turning of a cane into a snake. What happened to these abilities that are in fact unverifiable? The miracles God performed at this time should sound absolutely amazing. One must ask if he retired from the miracle business thousands of years ago. Is our civilization unworthy of such attention, and if so, why? Seriously consider the things I have put forth here, for they are questions you must ask yourself. A God is clearly an irrational being, whose very existence requires more of an explanation than his existence can supply itself. I await your comments. Good day.